Okay, we're ready to go?
Okay.
Okay, my name is Richard Rand. I'm the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And this is an open meeting of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals. It's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16th, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Zoning Board of Appeals are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Zoning Board of Appeals to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded to the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Okay, and just do a roll call. The members that are present. Fran Backstrom.
Present.
Okay, Jeff Leland.
Present.
Paul Tagliaferri.
Present.
Mike Rattan.
Present.
And Susie Seslicka.
Present.
Okay, we're all present. First item on the agenda is the continuance of the consideration of the petition for ZHS Trust for a special permit and site plan approval to change the unit count from 66 units to 88 units at the previously approved assisted living facility at 39 to 43 King Street. Map 45, parcel 105, located in the Business West zoning district and the Groundwater Protection Overlay District, Area 3. And Rashid was the presenter, and we had some questions at our last meeting, and we continued it because of the fire chief's input. So Rashid, have you got a revised plan? Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for your time, and thank you, the board members. If I may, I think do I have access to the share screen? Yes, I do.
I believe so.
Yeah. So,
Okay, we're seeing your shared screen.
okay, you see my whole screen with different. Okay, this is the plan I want to show you, which I can see. It's the site plan with parking and the layout. Do you see the same?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody
So
else?
thank you very much. I'm learning this technology myself as well. So apologize, last time I was having a little bit difficulty, and Sid Silvera, who's joining me on the call as well, our architecture, he's a lot more stewed in this thing, and he taught me a few things. Hopefully will go smoothly today. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for your time and recognizing. If with your permission, may I start?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So yes, we had a couple of questions from the board raised through fire chief. So I actually reached out to fire chief and basically revised the plan since then, and we have sent this updated plan about 2-3 weeks ago. But then there was further questions, so we just recently sent this plan. I'd be happy to talk it over and then kind of submit the final plan. So the three major changes we have made, the questions, one of the question was that this entrance on the right-hand side, I hope you can see my cursor. You can see my cursor? Where
Yes,
my
we
cursor?
can.
Yes, we can.
But that was the entrance which we omit. And the reason we omit that is because Mass DOT would like to see the traffic flow coming through our 38 King Street. And they want to basically encourage everyone to go on the southwest cutoff and enter through this new large driveway and then make left or right here. So we thought that basically DOT want to minimize the traffic here. So we probably should, eliminate this. Also, DOT would like to see this as at least this as a one-way if this, they wanted to totally eliminate this portion, but then of course that required, town meeting action and what have you. So we, between town and our board and the Mass DOT agreed to keep this as a one-way. And like I read to you last time, the Mass DOT and the neighbors are very happy that basically we have this configuration because it increased the sight distance tremendously and eliminate all the unsafe environment. So basically, we, that was our whole reason. But after talking to the fire chief, we realized that we still have this as a one-way, and we talked to the town engineer as well. So we have this as a one-way, and it makes sense, especially for the fire truck, this entrance. We would not encourage other people to use it, but again, this would be a good entrance, extra entrance and exit point for the fire truck. So we put this back in here, and fire chief is pretty happy. I'm very grateful and thankful to the fire chief, even though he had a very busy schedule. He was going for vacation, but he was able to give me his input, and we went back and forth and agreed on that. So he's happy with that. The second question he raised was the fire hydrant. The fire hydrant was there. It was originally here, but unfortunately it was not visible. He raised the question that he'd like to see the fire hydrant within 100 feet. So we have put the fire hydrant right here, which is 85 feet, and he's happy with that. And then the last question he raised was that some, access point and area of refuge on the both sides of the property. Actually, this was the question he was raised last time. So we basically, addressed that, but we, my architecture went back and forth with but we have area of refuge on each floor on both sides that actually exceeds the code. So that solved that problem. So that's really pretty much the fire chief's questions, and I think those are kind of closed at this point. I had requested him to give you the same feedback. He was heading out for his vacation, but he was still kind to talk to, I think, Kathy and Fred, and they will give you an input similar to what I'm giving you. So that's the fire chief questions. And then I also had a very good time and discussion with our building commissioner, who honestly looked at it very thoroughly, and his special concern, a discussion point with parking. So bear in mind, we have 66 units, 44 parking approved site. And we, proposing to add 22 units. Originally, we were proposing to add, a lot more, but with the discussion on parking and what have you, we are, we put the application to go to 88 units with 11 more parkings, making the parking 55. So actually, even though we have gone through this exercise during the last approval process, which is the current approval we have, and we kept the same similar ratio, and we went through and I did a lot of study on the neighboring sites, especially the benchmark for me is the LCB side, Orchard Grove side on 258 Walnut Street, which is built 2 years ago. They exactly have the 88 units, very similar mix, and 52 parkings. And we are offering here 55 parking. I actually had a meeting with Bob today, and Bob did actually a pretty smart thing. He went around and he looked at a couple of different ways of, what would be the worst case scenario. And he came up about 53 to 55 parking. And I came up with really the required parking as 49, but we're providing 55. So I think we are pretty much on the same page there as well. So that being said, honestly, I thank the due diligence and cooperation from, of course, from the board as well as from the offices. And we have gone back and forth, and I think we believe we have closed all the questions, at least on the department level. So let me just kind of reiterate and summarize what are we actually looking for. What we are really looking for is that since the approval, lots of dynamics have changed, and we really have gone to our board and offered the access through 38 King Street, which affects, heavily to 38 King Street. And then we have gone to Mass DOT. We spent over a year with them going back and forth, and they are very pleased with the new flow, and they can't wait to see that, because that makes it a lot more safer. The neighbors, we had meeting with neighbors, our engineer has a meeting with neighbors, and they are all very happy with the proposed plan, and with the dynamics, in the industry. This is only possible for me to get the right operator and right financer if we have at least the units around high 80s. They'll try to look at close to 100, but high 80s is really kind of the minimum they kind of support. And we had the space. We are not changing the envelope of the building at all. We are changing some we took out some of the programs because we had extra programs which we don't really need. We also had lots of discussion with the Executive Office of Elderly Affairs. I know Bob had discussion with Executive Office of Elderly Affairs. So we really have looked into all direction, and we believe this makes sense. And it's and I just will close with this, that this whole environment over there, the flow will be safer, and we would be able to offer this new flow if we build this building. If we don't build the building, then unfortunately the condition remains the same. And we hope that you help us build this building with your approval tonight. We have been waiting for so long with a lot of processes on the way. We're also thankful to the DPW that we are, we would be able to connect to the sewers, and hence we don't have the limitation of the septic. Certainly it will be extra burden because it's about 1,000 feet away and it's pretty deep, but we believe that this will make the overall project and the area, much better, and then neighbors will take advantage of it too. So that's really overall my presentation. I'm open for questions, sir.
I just have a few questions myself. How close are these parking spaces that are along King Street to the edge of the road? Is there any kind of gap between them?
They are exactly at the same place where they were when you approved them. I don't exactly have exact dimension, but we looked into all that. We didn't change where they are. They are exactly at the same place.
I believe it was a 5-foot buffer.
Yes, Sid would know.
Will it be a walk along that between the parking lot and the street itself? A sidewalk?
I don't remember that we put any sidewalk before or after. This is, bear in mind, it is I think there is a grass strip, but there is really no sidewalk in the, honestly, I didn't look into it now, but I think we did not make that change this time at all. I think it was a beautiful grass strip there, in my opinion. It's a narrow street to begin with.
Okay, anyone else with questions?
I do, Fran, sorry.
Fran, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you just remind us how many acres are actually on this parcel that you're developing?
I don't remember exactly. I think it's over 2 acres.
About two acres, okay. And the 258 Walnut Street that you refer to, which is a very similar design, sits on 5.5 acres?
No, ma'am, that's also it's very similar in size. Actually, let me remind you that how this idea came into my mind. I built 256, 254, and 252 Walnut Street. I built single family home there, and we bought the land from both of us bought the land from the same owner. So I saw them building that. Now there is a hill back there. This is a huge hill and ledge. So I don't know if you're referring to the land which is on the hill unusable. The usable piece is very similar, very, very similar. And
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I went there today. I have some photos. I'd be happy to share. They have 52 parkings, and actually, it's like a ditto copy, and the architecture is the same firm as well. And they had like almost 50. I went there around 1:30 after I left with Bob, and I took some pictures. Almost 50% of the parkings were empty, and they have 95% occupancy.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, a portion of the 2.5 acres or the approximately 2 acres on King Street is undevelopable as well. Is that correct?
Dean, can you answer that? Hello?
Is the question for me?
Yes, I'm sorry, through
Yes.
the chair. Yes, sorry.
Well, like I said, we are not changing the envelope, and we're not changing where the building is sitting. It's exactly same building that it was before. There is actually a small strip in the back, which is a wetland, but most of the land is usable. It does have a gradient, but we actually did a pretty smart thing. We are using the gradient. So we are actually building, a basement there. So it would, it has the grass strip in the back, and it's pretty usable in the back there. So it's most of the land it's right in front of you. You can see where the wetland is.
Mhm.
So the wetland is, is right there. Is right there. This is the strip. This is the wetland right here.
Okay,
Thank you.
anyone else?
Sure. Mr. Chair.
Yes, Paul, go ahead.
So what was the fire chief's conclusion about sort of getting rear access to the building?
Well, basically, this discussion we had last time, and we agreed with the areas of refuge because basically we knew that, the topography is such that we would not be, going in, taking the truck in the back, but we agreed with the areas of refuge. That was the discussion actually last time, if you remember it. So we basically built areas of refuge here and areas of refuge and the side access. We actually have the rear access because it's a walkout basement. We have rear access from the walkout basement as well. But most important point was that he was able to get in here and here and in the front. So, and build areas of refuge as well. That was the discussion. Otherwise, you don't need areas of refuge. So we extensively discussed that last time. And so we did not change that flow from last time to this time.
And just so the board knows, the fire chief did send an email to the town planner that he is in agreement with this new plan, and he has talked to Rashid about it.
Okay.
Any other comments? Rashid, I have a question. The buffer around the back of the building, how wide is that buffer right at the base of the building before it starts sloping down?
We actually had that discussion too last time, and I think it's about 20 or so feet, 15 to 20 feet. This is this area right here.
Yes.
Yeah, the grade varies there, but yeah, it's roughly between 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
In that vicinity.
Okay.
That was an extensive discussion last time around, and again, we didn't change any grade there at all, and that was the whole idea of that people can walk and stuff like that.
Yeah, back when we first submitted, that was part of the discussion too, and the grading on the left side where that diagonal part of the building is, that was worked out too to accommodate, egress from the back of the building. There'd be a walkway there.
Yeah.
Then it would have to be, accessible gradient.
I recall that discussion, but I wanted to make sure it was still in there, that how wide it was.
Yes, no, yep.
Yes.
That hasn't changed. No.
We didn't change the grade at all in the back or sides.
Okay, anyone else with any questions, comments? Paul?
Just a question for Mr. Chair for the staff. I know the original case went through both the design review committee and I believe the conservation committee. Do any and all of the stipulations or conditions that those two boards had for the original meeting carry through this decision or this case? I mean, in technically, we're just adjusting, right, our previous decision. Is that correct?
That's correct, but Fred, could you comment on that?
Good evening. Sorry I was late. My understanding is that the building footprint is exactly the same and that the order of conditions is not being changed because there's no additional impact to the wetlands. I'm not sure if what was the other part of that one, Paul, please?
Just the design review committee.
I can't speak to that, but perhaps Bob could speak to the design review committee's involvement. But my expectation is that since the outside of the building's not changing, it shouldn't have any impact on this change.
The design review committee did meet and approve the design of the building. And like everybody has said, the footprint, both in terms of the spread of the foundation and the height of the building, remains unchanged, and the exterior style has remained unchanged. I think the only thing that's been done is minor adjustments for access and traffic, which was worked out between the fire department, the client, and the Mass DPW. The only other thing that I think they've added is that one of the requirements for memory care patients is to have a fenced-in exterior courtyard that is directly accessible from the floor that these people are on. And those have been added. I think Rashid is showing them. There's a semicircular where his cursor is now, and there it looks like a little bit of a big slice of pie. Those are fenced-in areas for the benefit of the memory care patients.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Paul.
All right, Dick, just to follow up, I'm sorry, this is Fran. All right, so
Yes, go ahead.
I did find, and it is actually the Shrewsbury is 5.58 acres of land, and the envelope does sit back a little bit further from the road, and it's a much different road. I don't know that the applicant can assure me of my concerns, but my concerns were the same as they were the last time, that we are looking, yes, parking is adequate, but regardless of the fact that these residents may not drive or have cars, they need to be driven places. We're going to increase the traffic, again, regardless of the improvements on that road, to doctor's appointments, shopping, social events. They still are, they're not locked in. So there is still going to be an increase in traffic on that small road. I don't know that you can modify it in a way that would make me comfortable to have now 88 individuals being able to be transported up and down King Street. But I just don't see it. And my other concern is the process through the Executive Office of Elder Affairs is laborsome. And if it doesn't, this is the gentleman's first opportunity. If it doesn't go through, are we stuck with this 88 studio unit apartment building? Like, how do we assure ourselves that that's not going to happen?
Mr. Chair, may I?
Rashid, go ahead.
So one by one, Mr. Chair, like I said, I know the LCB side inside out, and that was my motivation of even going in that direction. So yes, like I said, they blasted part of the site, and you can look into it, but I know that site has a wetland in the front and mountain in the back. And actually, I'll see if I can bring the pictures on I took. And the 256 Walnut Street is the house I built. That's it high. and I actually have to build them a very big wall, stone wall, to basically because they they have a huge kind of ledge in the back. So that's that. And they, for that reason, they actually have only 52 parkings. Okay. Now they also sit right on the road, and they have a wetland in the front instead of being in the back. So really that side is tight. Number one. Number two, again, that's that side. But number two, the other most important thing is these folks really don't drive themselves. We will have vans, and those vans go on certain time basis. And a lot of these folks actually will have, visiting doctors and stuff like that. And these things are done on certain timely basis. Also, there are some programs we have where we have a home theater, we have, little church, we will have some exercise equipment and what have you. So there are a lot of services provided within the facility, and usually we will have a couple of vans to transport them. Third thing is we have gone extensively, especially, Fran, thanks to Fran, she raised that question. We have made this access on King Street right here. This used to be, yes, the King Street is pretty small. And that was the consistent concern Fran had. And for that reason, she, along with some other people, came up with the idea, neighbors, that can we bring the access through 38 King Street? We have a big impact on 38 King Street, and we have gone with Mass DOT for over a year to create this very wide, driveway and changing the flow of the King Street. And, that is going to make the side distances and the safety much, much better. So, anytime when you build a building, if not this building, you build any other, because it's a mixed zone, and you build any mixed zone facility like the at the end of the street, that will have a far more traffic than this type of facility where you will have mostly, people driven through vans. So we believe that this really is a great solution, and especially for the traffic, we have this new access point, and it's been well studied by the Mass DOT. And I read you their letter. They can't praise enough. They really appreciate it. And we are giving this parcel of land to the town in the long run, if this facility go through. We'll build it, but we'll then transfer it to the town.
Yeah, I think the other part of Fran's question was whether or not this has been approved by the state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Elder Affairs.
Yeah, so sorry, I forgot about that question. So I had extensive discussions with the Executive Office of Elderly Affairs, and we also have, Bob had discussions with them. So yeah, that's a good question. First of all, yes, it is the first facility by ZHS, but we are not doing this by ourselves. I mean, we are not naive enough to spend millions of dollars and go solo on it. That's the reason we have been working with the operators, and we're working with there are specialized institutions that support these type of facilities, and they go in hand with the operators. So we are working, we are in discussion with operators, and that's the reason we are here in front of you, because this is what they are looking for. So to make this project a success, so we don't have an unsuccessful project, we want to make sure that we go with the right team, and that would be the operator who has extensive experience in that field, and the right finance company who does this type of job. We don't have ability to do this on our own. We have ability to bring it to a certain level, and then have the right team and partnership set up to take it next step. And that's really honestly the feedback. We have done a demand study recently. We have fostered some partnerships, and that's what the partnership is looking for. And that's the reason we are here in front of you. So it's successful.
Chair,
Hey,
this
Jeff?
is Jeff. Could I just follow up on Fran's concern, and maybe it's with Bob, but this building, if it's built and it isn't assisted living, it cannot be turned into apartments. Is that correct? Because of the zoning?
If it's allowed as presented, and plans fall through and they want to use the building for something other than, basically they could use the building for whatever is allowed by right in that section of town, according to the zoning district. I don't have the actual zoning district in my head right now, but I'm just gonna
It's
look
a
it
mix,
up.
it's a mixed use.
The reason I
Some-
brought it up just because typically assisted living isn't apartments because it doesn't have full kitchens. And that I would have the same concern as Fran if it could backdoor into 88 apartments, but I would think that would be unlikely.
Just let me check one thing.
While Bob is checking, Mr. Chair, that can never happen. Because it is such a huge investment with the kitchen and all those accessories. If that happened, I will definitely go bankrupt. And secondly, you will not have the parking to do the 88, apartment building.
Yeah, but we're looking after you go bankrupt, for what happens to the building.
Well, I'm not in a mood to get bankrupt. We'll have the right team.
The second comment while Bob was looking, Mr. Chair, was just a question whether that second entrance could be, if it would be preferable to the town to have it blocked like the second entrance on Beaumont is onto Lincoln Street. So it's there for emergencies, but it's not there for day-to-day use. I don't know if that would be helpful or beneficial.
I don't know whether it would be or not.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Bob.
the lot lies in the Business West section of town. Fred Litchfield can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it may be in a groundwater protection overlay district. But the Business West allows by right, barring any groundwater issues, cultural uses, hospital, limited mixed use building, shops for custom work, vertical mixed use development. Basically, businesses on the first floor, residences up on the upper floors. Continuing care retirement communities, retail stores are allowed, art galleries, commercial greenhouses, bed and breakfasts, inns, restaurants, catering services, banks, professional business offices, medical dental offices, personal service establishments like hair salons, manicurists, massage parlors, that sort of thing. So there's a wide variety of things that can be done by right in that zoning district. So if they build a building and it doesn't work as an assisted living facility, there are other options. The ones I mentioned are just real quick as allowed by right through the zoning use chart. And if, like I've said, if Fred can correct me if I'm wrong, if it lies in the groundwater protection overlay district, there may be further restrictions or further special permits to be gotten to do that kind of activity. But I don't think there would be a white elephant should something go wrong with the business side of this thing. There are other uses that this can be used for.
According to the application, it's in the groundwater 3 area.
Okay. Most of your business uses in a groundwater 3 area do require a special permit by the ZBA. Very much what the ZBA has looked at in the past, successful drainage, protection of the wellhead, protection districts, and adequate use of the land.
Hello, Dick. It's Fred. The portion of the site that's in the groundwater area is in the back of the property where the wetlands are. So it really doesn't affect the use of the property, and therefore no special permit would be required for any activity unless they were in the actual groundwater area.
Thank you. That's enlightening.
And Mr. Chair, this is Fran again,
Yes,
and I
Fran.
apologize because I'm just drawing a total blank. Did we say that the exit, the main exit, that there will be no right-hand turn down King Street, that they're only going to be able to go straight across, or are they allowed to make a right-hand turn past the residential down to Main Street?
I don't think that's been discussed.
Oh, okay,
I don't recall that discussion either.
okay, all right. Well, I mean, it would
It's-
make me feel a lot better knowing that the vans and the traveling doctors and the people who want to go to socialize and go elsewhere can't go down, make a right down King Street. Their only option is straight across.
I guess, Fran, looking at this, I think the logical thing, especially if you're going to go north or in toward town, would be to go straight across and take the right, because it's so easy to
Right,
do
right. Mhm.
versus threading your way down King Street.
Mhm.
I don't see creating a lot of protection for something that I just don't see people doing. The rest of King Street is kind of a navigation problem, and just going across with the nice 90-degree angle onto Main Street right there, the visibility and everything else just makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me too. I can't imagine people going down King Street after they've done it once when they have an alternative. It's difficult to get out on Route 20, even at the, if you went right onto King Street. It's not easy.
Actually, Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead, appreciate it.
So actually, Mass DOT looked at all these scenarios in a lot of detail. So these were things were discussed. So first of all, even the neighbors coming in here, after this thing is built, they will not be going straight this way. That they will not be allowed to. This will be one way at this point. Okay, so they are actually using this and going this way. Also, anybody coming from here, they are, if they want to go to King Street, they are going this way. And so this access here is going to be changing the flow of traffic here and making it a lot more accessible and visible. Now, of course, when we are coming in, we will absolutely be going, in here and coming this way and, parking and all doing all, what have you. But anybody who's living here, they would be coming in and they would be going and using this access point and going this way. So that's really, the flow right now. Matter of fact, there is a stop sign here. They have put in there that because this is one way, when traffic is coming, traffic will not be able to go this way. But when the traffic coming this way, they would have to stop here and then move forward. All these
Mr.
things.
Chair,
That's
sorry. So will there be, I know there'll be a stop sign and it's one way. Is there also going to be like a sign that says do not enter right there too?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking of like, say, the van drivers don't know Northborough and they might not know King Street, and just to make sure.
Okay. Anyone else?
So, Mr. Chair, I don't have any other issues, but there are a couple of different things besides the 66 units to 88. Just make sure that we've checked off the amended site plan approval as far as the sewer. I don't know whether we actually have to say that while we're in open meeting. I mean, before we start deliberating. And there was a variance for a sign that had expired that we probably just need to affirm that is still okay.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you, Fran. And Rashid, where are you bringing the sewage in from?
From is this the northerly side, Fred? I guess.
Yes.
It is actually right at almost to the end of the King Street before you get to the
The sewer is in West Main Street with a stub that heads up King Street. So they have to bring it up pretty much the entire length of King Street to the site.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
All right, anyone else before we open it up to the public? Nothing? Seeing none? Okay, this is a public hearing, so anyone wishing to comment, please raise your hand. And Fran, if you could assist in seeing whether or not anybody's raising their hand, because I can't see.
Yeah. Okay, it
anyone
looks like,
else.
yes, it looks like there's somebody has their hand raised, named Scott Rogers. I can allow him to talk.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I think I did.
All
Mr.
right.
Rogers?
This is Scott Rogers at 26 Tomahawk Drive. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. At your prior meeting, there was some discussion about the staffing levels in the facility and the number of parking spaces. And I don't know if the new number of units and the associated staff, and thereby if that has implications for the number of parking spaces. So I don't know if that question was also reviewed and if there's any update in that respect. And then personally, a comment from me would be the anticipated staffing levels did seem very low. I don't know if that's something under your jurisdiction, and I don't know if it has implications, but for a layman's perspective on that, especially the overnight staffing levels seemed inappropriate low. And I don't know if that's common amongst the operators of these facilities to staff that low overnight. Thanks.
Thank you, but I think these staffing levels are a little beyond the purview of the zoning board of appeals. Rashid, if you could answer that?
Even though it is, but Mr. Chair, I must applaud our building commissioner. He has really gone very deep into it. And we even had a meeting today and he wrote a note to you guys. He has extensive experience on his own with his family of nursing homes and what have you. So just like you do cost analysis, you do, all those kind of analysis in the building as well. So he has taken an extreme approach of staffing level, and I took a different approach. And then I also looked at the benchmark, and we talked to Executive Office of Elderly Affairs, what is the minimum requirement and what's the maximum requirement and what have you. They also have a mandate of very, limited staff, much less than what I proposed. But Bob took a much, much deeper approach. And in any way we look at it, we actually have adequate parking. So we had 44 parking and 66 units. Now we have 55 parking and 88 units. And so, and half of the units we are adding are memory care, which don't even drive. So it actually have, pretty decent parking for what it is.
Okay, Scott, do you have any more questions?
I guess if you could repeat then what the anticipated staffing levels are and the parking requirements for those staff.
So, Scott, like I said, that the staffing level at this point are really a remote discussion. We have looked at the max, like for example, we look at, 30 people, we look at 9 people, we look at, so, and then you look at what is the minimum requirement. The minimum requirement from the Executive Office of Elderly Affairs is really a handful of resources. So I'm not really sure if this is really the right format to talk in that detail. I'd be happy to talk to you offline. And again, we are going to choose the right operator and they have the softwares, and this is going to get a lot more, streamlined. And even if I give you a typical staffing level at this point, it won't be accurate because we have to deal with the reputable operator and they're going to hire the right number of people for the right number of right mix of units. So basically what you look at is the number of parking. We had 44 parking for 66 units, which comes out to be a ratio of 0.63 or 64 parking per unit. Most facilities we looked at, like the LCB facility, Orchard Grove on Walnut Street, that has actually, I think, 0.56 ratio. Benchmark has 0.63 ratio. The facility in Westboro has 0.55 ratio. So most of these were lower than the ratio we are providing.
That's great. Thank you. And is there a documented minimum that you can cite? I know last meeting you said 3.
The Executive Office of Elderly Affairs has a minimum requirement, and I think Bob has a better view of that. Bob, you want to go ahead and you would talk to the Executive Office. Go ahead and please.
Yeah, if I may. I did call the Executive Office of Elderly Affairs because I wanted to get an idea of what the parking demand would be based upon the staffing requirements. And I was shocked to hear that the staffing requirements for this facility is literally 4 people. It's an executive director, a manager, and you need to have 2 people at all times in a memory care unit. Beyond that, it's up to the operator of the facility to submit a staffing plan to the Department of Elder Affairs for review. And that plan is supposed to be reviewed by the administrator every quarter or 6 months or something like that. So after having a discussion with the Department of Elderly Affairs and discovering that they don't have minimum staffing levels that you can actually document beyond the 3 titles I mentioned. So I had to do a little digging into my own family history. As Rashid said, my family's got a history of operating nursing homes from the 50s to about the 90s. And I literally went through all the services that are listed on the plans that Rashid has submitted. Library, laundry, cooking, wait staff, maintenance, nursing staff, admin, and then you factor in, visitors, visiting, whether it's family or if it's clergy that are coming to visit, or if it's hairstylists coming to use the salon, or if it's an art teacher coming in to help with daily activities. There's a lot of service suppliers that come in that aren't necessarily employees of the facility. So I looked at all those, plus I looked at, extra demand during shift changes because your parking demand goes up temporarily. And at the end of the long road, 55, 56, 57 spaces was pretty, from what I could tell, fairly reasonable. Because there's a lot more going on here. I mean, you've got 88 units, and to be quite honest, I'm not sure if you stayed with 66, your staffing model would go down all that much. You're still running a kitchen, for example. You need 2 people to cook and serve. You need a couple of people to bust the tables and keep the place clean. There's 4. You got a laundry person coming in. You got a salon. You've got visitors on holidays like Mother's and Father's Day. All that stuff does get taken into account. I also spoke to the administrator at the Coleman House because I know he has a parking issue, and he says that it's on the big visiting days it's difficult because it is a very busy place. People coming in and out, daily trips, hiring vans to take the clients around town and whatnot. So typically 55, and that's the same number that Rashid came up with by using his method of counting. So, there's a fair amount of comfort knowing that 2 roads led to the same destination.
Oh, that's great. Bob, thanks for that, kind of operational, insight on that. And then also the confidence that, those staffing plans are overseen, reviewed by EOEA. So that's great to hear. Thank you for those answers. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bob. Honestly, you did a lot more than a typical commissioner does.
Right.
So kudos to you. I feel like I'm
Right.
ready to apply for the building permit.
And I'm sorry, Dick, this is Fran again. And I actually, this does play well into what the parking is for this project, but I would be remiss as the Assistant Director of Bay Path Elder Services in Marlborough, not to explain that skilled nursing facilities, also known as nursing homes, are overseen by the Department of Public Health and have very different criteria for parking and staffing than an assisted living residency, which is what this proposal is for. So it concerns me because the Coleman House is primarily a skilled nursing facility. They have just 12 memory care units. It's just very different. So just wanted to make that point.
Okay, thanks, Fran.
That's good. Honestly, I think he just was looking for the absolute worst case scenario. But that's the reason I'm using LCD facility, which is built only 2 years ago with all the bells and whistles. And like I said, they have 52 parking, 88 units, exactly same. And most of the parking, when I went there at 2 o'clock, at least more than 50% were empty, and they're 95% capacity. So.
All right, thank you. Any other persons in the audience? Fran, can you see anyone?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the board have any comments?
Mr. Chair, it's Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
So and apologies for asking this question again, but in the original case that was approved in 2016, right? Was there parking, right? Those 5 parking spaces to the right. Were those 5 parking spaces there on the original plan?
Thank you, Paul. May I, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Bashir.
Yeah, yes, sir. Actually, you asked that question last time, and I apologize for not answering. I looked into it actually because you did ask. Yes, sir. They're unchanged. That area is unchanged.
Okay, so there were 5 parking spaces to the right.
100% same. No change there.
Okay, so then I guess, and maybe I have a failure to my imagination, but how does the fire department plan to get behind the building if there are 5 cars parked in those 5 parking spaces and 3 cars parked on the left-hand side?
Well,
my apologies for being dense. I'm just trying to understand exactly how that would work. Thank you.
That's a great question.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead, Rashid.
Yeah, so this was discussed last time too, and that's where this access point here and areas of refuge come into play at each level, because we knew that because of the grade over here, the truck won't be able to go around it anyway. So that's the whole reason we did this way. And we basically have the area of refuge and access point on both sides.
So the way the code reads
So
is
Paul.
they don't need to get access to around the building, but access to the rear of the building needs to be within 250 feet of the street. So they could go down that drive aisle to the right and get to the back of the building, so to speak, by the code definition.
And could they get down on the left side also?
The left side is the same thing. If they could go to the left at that 13 parking spaces, and once again, they are within 250 feet from the road to the back of the building. If you think of a lot of lots that don't have any access to the rears of the buildings in terms of vehicle access, but you still need to get, a fire department with a hose within a certain distance of the street.
And actually, going back to the LCB, they don't have, you can't drive in the back of that either. But yes, as long as you have access, like Sid is saying, my architecture, you could walk there, but you could put a ladder there or what have you, but you don't have a space to drive around, and you don't have a space to drive around in LCB either. Neither many of the facilities I visited, Benchmark or others.
Okay, Bob, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just a point of clarification. The building is to be completely and totally sprinkled. And the areas of refuge, Rashid has agreed to because of the difficulty or the inability for a fire truck to get around the back of the building. You know, so I distinctly remember the fire chief being on board with areas of refuge, you know, hydrant close to the building, obviously a town water supply, 2 entries, and between the areas of refuge and the fully sprinkled building, which is required by code anyway. That gave him a certain comfort level that even though he couldn't get a truck around the back of the building, there was still ability to get, you know, care for the safety of the occupants.
So, Mr. Chair, to follow
Fran?
up on Paul's point then, was the original plan that was approved back in 2016, if it did not have these, if I recall, there was the ability to go around the back of the building for the fire truck. So, I mean, and I do believe at our last meeting, we asked and Kathy could not find, or maybe it was a different one. Is this exactly the same plan that we saw the last time as far as the road, I mean, the driveway, or are we saying now this plan does not allow the fire truck to go behind, which is different than it was in 2016?
Yeah, there was never fire truck access back there. The building's in the exact same place and the topography is the same. Which to Bob's point was why they were adamant about putting the area of refuge in. Because that was never an option in terms of vehicle access.
And I
But like I
recall
mentioned earlier, but as I mentioned earlier, they also wanted the grading to be, you know, accessible by foot to get to the back of the building and also for people to egress from the back of the building as well.
And that's my recollection of that meeting too, also, that, you know, you had areas of refuge that were going to be in the front of the building and that there was walking access around the building. Anyone else? Paul, you had your hand up?
No, I was just gonna say, you know, because reading the letter from the fire chief where, you know, he says, we originally discussed your proposal. We required access down the delta side of the building where you have 5 spaces listed so we could access the rear of the building. And I cannot tell if that is still there. And then he says that's for 2 reasons: to allow our fire department access to the rear of the building and to allow egress for occupants. You know, I think the egress is something that we can see, but having the fire department access, but then questioning the 5 spaces, I think was just, maybe I'm confusing the wording of his language and whether or not he actually wanted to be able to have a truck down there, or, which is why I was trying to reference what the original plan in 2016 was, and if it was exactly the same in terms of having those 5 spaces there. That's all.
Are we talking about the spaces at the very bottom, correct?
Correct, that's right.
Yeah, the space is all the way to the right.
Yeah, I was able to find the plan. I don't know if I can share the screen or not. Showing those spaces there. If you'd like me to
If you could
share.
put it up, it would be great.
Rashid, I think you need to allow me to share.
Actually, let me see if I have.
I can email it to you right now if you'd like.
No,
It's
I
easy.
actually, let me see. This is the old plan, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's the one I have up.
Right here. Now I'm going to make it smaller and put the other one back. exactly same.
I think originally, I think the only change graphically is we had two small transformers. I think we went to one bigger one or something. There's something there. I don't recall what that is.
But this
But,
area is totally unchanged. Paul, you good? You want me to put back the other one again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay. Anyone else have questions, comments? Seeing none? You have a motion?
I move to close the hearing.
Second,
Okay, you have a motion to close the hearing. It's seconded by Mark. All those in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Mark,
aye.
Fran,
Aye.
and Jeff, you'll be the voting member on this.
Yes, aye.
Okay, and myself, aye. So the hearing is closed. Thanks, Rashid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and the board.
Thanks, everyone.
So may I please ask that question? So did we put back the sign? And Fran, I'm sorry, you had the sign has it needs a vote again, I guess.
Sign? The sign is in our agenda.
Yeah, the sign permit expired.
It got expired, so I don't know if you can renew that. We're not changing the sign. We're not changing the location. We're not changing the size. It just has expired.
Have you filed to have the extension?
Okay, I'm sorry if I needed a separate extension. I didn't realize that. I just filed the extension for the whole thing. I am seeking when the vote is done, I'm hoping it will have the 2-year, just like, so I was seeking the whole application, including the sign, to be extended. But you can enlighten me if there's a difficulty. That's not a big deal to come back for that.
I think you're voting to extend the whole thing, so I think the sign would be inclusive of that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, now we'll discuss this. Paul, go ahead.
So, sorry, so what is the, has the sign, a decision number 4, the variance for the sign, has that already expired? Is that part of the ask, I guess?
Yeah.
I think Bob has his hand up.
Bob, could you answer that? Bob?
Yep, I'm here. The sign variance was granted, although at the same time as the original building before the amendment. But that particular variance was for a sign on a separate parcel of land. And that had a different expiration date than did this particular lot that Rashid is talking about tonight. The application, I believe, I haven't read it in a while, but the application to amend the special permit for this particular design that we're talking about tonight did not include or have any mention of the signage. So my thought is that Rashid should probably reapply for the variance for the sign.
Okay, sir.
Thanks for clearing that up, Bob.
All right,
So
well,
I guess,
sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Paul.
yeah, I'm sorry, Fran. I just want to, are we going through, do we have a decision to make on the special permit from 6688? A decision to make on the site plan approval and a decision to make on the variance for the sign?
No. What you're voting on tonight, and Fred can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe what you're voting on is the amendment of the special permit for the assisted living, and the amendment is for the change in the parking and the room count from, or the unit count from 66 to 88, and also including the sewer tie-in versus a septic system.
I believe that's correct, Bob.
Okay, and in the sign variance or refreshment of the sign timeline, I don't think was ever part of this process tonight.
And not because the variance has already expired. So if he
Right.
wants a variance for the sign, he has to come back. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Fran.
Variances usually expire within a year. Special permits expire within 2 years. Even with COVID, the sign variance expired long ago. With COVID, there was a certain amount of tolling that took place for this particular amendment tonight.
And
Okay,
Mr.
thanks.
So,
Fran?
Mr. Chair, so I mean, what I was referring to was the zoning interpretation request form, which said that this proposed use is to increase the number of units, add sewer, change parking and building access, increase memory care unit. And so that's why these were all on that. So I just want to make sure that our decision process and our hearing process includes everything that is supposed to. But so we did, that's why we did talk about the site plan approval for the sewer, driveway and parking and the 66 to 88. So, I mean, if you want, I'll go first into the discussion. I am
Right.
fine. I don't think I think adding sewer, which will be a betterment to the people on King Street. There's also a cost associated with that may be difficult, but it is a betterment because it's going to go right past their houses. So that's a good thing for all around. I think changing the parking and the building access is either a positive or insignificant change. I love the street going across. I'm not in favor of increasing the number. I don't see the advantages of that to the town or to the services rendered. It's purely just for the cost and profit. But that's where I am.
Okay, thanks.
If I may.
Go ahead, Mark.
I see the increase of from 66 to 88 units is beyond making it economically more advantageous. I tend to think of it as making it economically viable. If you have some facilities with 66 and some with 88, I can see the operator saying, okay, I'd rather operate in 88 and provide service on that. I don't see a great increase in traffic going down King Street because I think that the access directly across the street to Route 20 is going to be the preferred access in and out of this building by far. And in fact, to some extent may reduce the number of accidents on Route 20 versus the angle of King Street as it now comes out. So yes, would it be better if 66 people were taken care of within this footprint instead of 88? Possibly, but as far as would it be better if the facility was never built for 66 or built for 88? I can see that these people know how to run their own operations and they're competitive looking at 88 units. It fits. I also guess I depend on the Massachusetts Office of Elderly Care to make sure it's run properly for the number of residents in this facility.
All right,
That's
thank you.
it.
Anyone else
Uh,
care to comment?
Sure, will go, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I see both sides, Mark as well as Franz. I tend to agree with Mark, and that is, I think I've seen other facilities. I know the ones in town as well have run into the same. They want to maximize the number of beds that they have, whether they're assisted or skilled nursing, and are always looking to increase them. They're always going to try to increase them to make them economically viable. I think the improvements with the sewer, as well as the extra lot for the fixing King Street as well as it possibly can, are improvements, and ultimately probably make it a more viable project to go forward. So I'd be in favor of it.
Hey, thanks, Jeff. I'm going to agree with Mark and Jeff. I think it's an improvement. I know it's economically more feasible to have 88 than 66, and obviously they're there to make a profit and make it more comfortable for people. So I think that's a legitimate thing, and I think the parking is adequate. I've been by the facility in Shrewsbury on Walnut Street in the midday, and I find that the time I was there, a couple of times I was there, more than half the spaces were empty. So I think there's adequate parking here in this particular application. So, and I like the access from King Street onto Route 20 with this new road. So I think it's a plus. So, anyone else?
I had one question. We might have gone over it. I was just wondering when we were talking about all the parking, and I think someone mentioned it, but I didn't catch the answer. Say, it's Thanksgiving week. My grandmother was in a memory care facility, and we'd always go up kind of for breakfast, or they'd have their lunch at, their dinner at like 11 a.m. We'd always go up before dinner. So say there is a need for overflow. King Street would, you can't really park on it, correct? Like, where would the overflow go? And if there's not going to be a sidewalk in that little grassy 5-foot strip, I'm just wondering, like, what would that be like? Because I know like a regular Thursday at that time might not be busy, but just thinking of the maximum times and what's going to happen, and just wondering. I drive by King Street like every day, but I've never gone down it, never driven down.
I do think, Susie, if you look on the other side of King Street, I think that they've made, I don't know whether,
Yeah,
I don't
that
believe that's
little-
part of the 55. That might be overflow, or that might be staff. I'm not positive, but I don't think that's part of the 55. But it looks like
Oh,
parking now.
okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
because
know
I
for
saw
sure.
that it was like on the older plan too. But I also didn't add together the spaces. But does
Yeah,
anyone
so-
know if there's like space to park on King Street? I'm just wondering.
I've been down King Street for years, and there is no parking on King Street. It's
Yeah,
a very narrow road, and if someone to park on it, it would be difficult to get. I mean, you could get one car by, so it could
yeah,
be done, but it would be a nuisance and a hazard. But there is parking at the plazas down there, the St. Rose's Church and the post office and all those areas that are in a short distance from it. Not that that factors into this plan, but
yeah. I was just wondering. Thank you.
anyone else? Your motion?
Mr. Chair, I guess, sorry, Fran, for asking the question directly to you, but the change from 66 to 88, is it just like a staffing, or like what is the main, just trying to.
Oh, so two things. One, I mean, I do actually appreciate the way Mark phrased it, more economically feasible, as opposed to like for a profit, because that it really is about economics. From a service standpoint, two things. One, it's going to there'll be more traffic. Assisted livings are not nursing homes. These are active individuals who can no longer live independently in their homes and are looking for some supports and services. It's not skilled nursing facilities where they are living in, dorm rooms, bedrooms with 100 other people. It's also putting 88 people in the same footprint as you did have 66 does not improve the quality of the services they receive. And I would love to think the Executive Office of Elder Affairs and their oversight is going to guarantee that more people in smaller units, more crowded, would be a better quality of service. But I've been in that world for over a decade, and I just don't see it. I mean, I hope it works out because it's probably going to go through, and but 88 people on the same footprint that was 66 is, to me, enough of a difference to not ensure that the quality of care, regardless of the staffing, it's just different. It's just different. I mean, think about cramming 10 people in a room instead of 6. It changes, but so I mean, I guess that's the reason. Traffic and care.
Right. So in assisted living, I mean, these people obviously will not have any cars, right? But they are.
No, that's not true. It's not a nursing home. It's not the memory care. They might have locked doors and ankle bracelets so that when they're wandering out, but all the residents will have the ability to drive themselves to and from. It's providing the activities of daily living that get more difficult as we get older. But it can be personal care. It can be linen services. They can bring in personal care. They can bring in a homemaker. They can they can hire. I mean, we're talking about between $3,000 and $7,000 a month rent with these a la carte type plans of services. It's not a nursing home where people are going to be shuttled consistently by van. It's just not. I mean, does
it seem, I guess for me, does it seem out of the ordinary that there's not some other accessible way than by car? Meaning, I would expect there to be sidewalk access that you could potentially walk out of the building and walk down to Lowe's Meat Market or the shops down there, right? Because if I'm like that, these are the type of people that they may drive, they may not, but they could go for a walk down the street. And it's not necessarily on Route 20, but you can get down to those stores. And I believe there is a sidewalk that goes down that side that's sort of there is a sidewalk to that point, but
yeah. Oh, yeah. If you go through the new street, you can get to a sidewalk and route Southwest Cutoff around. You can't. There's no sidewalk down King Street, but you would cross through their new road and then take a sidewalk down. Yes.
Mr. Chair, Paul, if you look at Whitney and Whitney Place and the Beaumont that's behind St. Rose's, that's half skilled nursing and half is assisted living with memory care. I've had many clients up there, and I don't know they do drive where they have people come and drive them, but they don't walk down, even though they could go down to the church or across the street. It's typically, that's more like a Willows type independent living in a CCRC.
And Whitney only has 47.
They
47 assisted living.
They can wander. I will say that. And that's why I was concerned about the sidewalks too. Because even if they have the ID and the security and everything, like, we've all seen the news and heard stories. So would the new street have a sidewalk on it to connect to the other one? Or maybe a crossing. I love crosswalks, good crosswalk from the parking lot to a sidewalk that goes down the new street and onto the next sidewalk.
I think that would be a reasonable request. I think we'd have to ask it of the town, but I think that would be reasonable to have it in the decision.
Because they're building the side street, if I'm correct, right? You're building that little street and then you're gonna give the land to the town. Am I correct? In the street? Because right now it would be a private and then going public.
Yeah, that's correct.
But I don't recall any sidewalk along the southwest cutoff in that area. There's no sidewalk to walk to get
No.
to.
Hmm,
I think the nearest sidewalk is down on West Main Street, down by the mixed development next to Rockies, and then along in front of Rockies, but I don't,
Right.
and along the other way, but on West Main Street. Not
goes-
on.
Not in that
Street, not on
section.
Southwest
No.
Cutoff.
Right. It goes right to that old used car lot, right at the traffic light. It stops there.
That's correct. And then there are
Right,
three
okay.
crosswalks through that Times Square
Right.
intersection to get
Right.
across, but nothing going up Southwest Cutoff that I recall.
I stand corrected.
We had a great plan, Fran.
200 feet of sidewalk short. But anyone else? Your motion? Go ahead, Mark.
All right.
As usual.
I motion that we modify, are we modify or granting? Would we
Amending?
prefer a phrase of granting or modifying?
We're amending the
We're
original.
amending the
Amending.
decision.
Okay, we're amending the special permit with site plan approval to allow an increase from 66 units to 88 units. And also with the approval is the revised site plan that has been submitted for the property at 39 to 43 King Street.
Second.
Are we also
Fred?
increasing the parking to 55 spaces?
Just a point of clarification is that the site
Okay.
plan's not being amended, just the number of units and the
Units.
parking count, because the plan that you have is an architectural concept floor plan, not an actual site plan. So the decision still needs to reference the original plan,
Oh,
because the building's staying in the same place, the drainage, everything is in the same place. The plan you have doesn't show any of that because it's not changing. So
but what
the,
about the parking? The fact the parking is increased?
you can just indicate that the number of parking spaces shall be the amount that you've agreed upon. But the building and the site plan, all the drainage and utilities are important
Okay.
that they stay where they were.
And what about the double access as requested by the fire department? I mean, this
The,
is all,
the double access was on the original plan.
okay, right.
And the memory care unit needs to be added as well, Fred?
I believe that that would be included in the amendment because that was different than what was the original approval, but it doesn't change. It's only occupies the different portions of inside the building, doesn't change the site plan itself.
Okay, thanks, Fred. So we have a motion from, Mark, you want to put in that change in the parking spaces to that?
Yes, also add the increase to 55 parking spaces.
Okay.
And I would have liked to have referenced the plan, but okay.
Okay, and the second is
That was me, Fran.
Fran, okay. So all those in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Fran,
And I'm sorry, I wish you the best of luck, but I'll have to stick with no.
Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
okay, and myself, aye. Okay, it passes. Any, Rashid? We have a 4-1 vote, so it passes. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I was muted. Thank you so much
okay,
to the whole board. Appreciate it.
thank you. Next item on the agenda was the discussion of the 200 Bartlett Street decision. And I had a question in that we pretty much agreed on on our decision. And one thing in section C of the decision is all vehicles in the care and custody of the occupant, RJ Devereaux Corporation. And my question was, if this property would get sold, the care and custody is a thing like if you brought your car to, say, WCD or some garage, you're giving your car to them and it's in their care and custody. So are we opening up ourselves to some kind of commercial automobile repair shop there by saying vehicles that are in the care and custody of the occupant, the owner? And should we be more specific that it's in the care and custody control of RJ Devereaux, but should we say in the care and custody of RJ Devereaux or its successors, whoever buys the property down the road, and that only the vehicles used in conjunction with the normal course of business should be serviced there? I mean, I'm just throwing this out because I think just throwing care and custody in could throw it into the automotive repair business.
Interesting.
Just my
Right.
thoughts, but I want to get it out there before we signed it and it went on forever.
So, Mr.
Fran?
Chair, so, I mean, certainly our intent was exactly what you're saying is we wanted to just be the vehicles that are being used for this business, right? So
Correct.
if care and custody, I mean, whether it needs to say care and custody of this business, period, and not even its successors, because we don't know what the successors would do, but link it to specifically to this company, their employees, their vehicles, however it has to be worded. But I think you're right. Care and custody could be, that's the same thing that Lammy does, right? It's
Right.
in the care and custody of, so.
I mean, if you brought yourself your car to, the Ford dealership, it's in their care and custody. So we've got ourselves kind of putting them into business there. And then if we just worded it so it's just vehicles used in the normal course of their business by the present owner or any successive owners, how would that be? Any comments?
Should we say to the present owner or their subcontractors? Because remember, they said that sometimes the crews are subcontracted and it's their vehicles as well. So the present owner and or the present owners subcontracted, some subcontractors. Sorry, it's been a long day.
You may want to add, and their employees.
And their employees.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Like I said, I just wanted to get care and custody to be more specific than that.
Mhm.
I think that makes sense.
I'm not sure we need a vote on this. It's just a decision we've already made, but anybody have any
Yeah.
comments on that?
I mean, I guess to Fran's point, like I think we're all trying to get to the same spot. It's just how you sort of wordsmith it. And I'm fine with care, custody, and control. Right? When you think about it, it could be you bringing your car to the Ford dealership, and now all of a sudden it's under their custody. And I think from like a insurance standpoint, right, it's still or whatever. But yeah, I'm fine with making the changes to get us to the point where we all agree it should be, which is basically their cars, trucks, or small autos that are used by this company.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
And
but I guess
yeah.
I don't know the words.
And Dick, I think you should just at least by agreement, because it's going to be modified. We won't see a draft. You'll just have it modified and sign it. So just like have it by agreement that those changes can be made, and then we don't have to see it again.
Okay, so we'll just pull the members. Mark, how do you feel? Are you in agreement?
Yeah, no, I would agree also with Fran's point of modify it. We'll agree here and it's signable. It doesn't have to be revisited.
Okay, Fran?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Susie? You're a voting member on this.
I agree. Yes. Sorry,
Paul?
I had to unmute.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks.
Okay,
Nick.
and I agree. Okay, so I'll get it done and signed, okay? The next item of business is the approval of minutes from the October 26, 2021 meeting. Yeah, I've read them. They look good to me. Anyone else comment on?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the October 26, 2021 minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, Fran moved, Paul seconded. Okay, all those in favor, Fran,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Susie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so, okay, well, approval. Right, that's all the business I have. Anyone have anything else? I don't know if everyone's aware of it. Apparently Kathy Jupiter is retiring at the end of the year.
Yeah.
December 31st is her last day, and I'm very sorry to see her go. She's a great resource to this office and this town and the zoning board of appeals. I don't know how they're ever going to replace her.
I don't know.
Me neither.
We have no meeting in December?
So I was going to ask.
We don't have any schedule, no.
Right, okay, so we will not see her. Oh,
Right.
I'll have to stop by.
What happened to Lawrence Street? Didn't we have one? We still have
Lawrence Street got bumped over to
They,
January.
they asked
Oh,
for a
to January.
continuation.
till
There was a
January?
question about the buildability of that lot, even if the special permit was granted. And town council's opinion was relayed to the applicant, and they subsequently asked for a postponement so they could review it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I guess that's all we have.
Okay.
I'm just going to mention for my other committee that December 4th is the Northborough Light Up the Town. And we have the Great Snowman Hunt the week before leading up to it. So since we don't have a meeting in December, I'll see you all there.
Okay, thank you. So here, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor, Mark,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Susie,